Welcome to the Earning Freedom Podcast. I am Michael Santos with michaelsantos.com and prisonprofessor.com, and I'm really excited again to be returning to provide another installment of our episode on it's called Success After Prison. This is a reading of my book. It's the newest book that I've got here. It's called Success After Prison, How I Built Assets Worth $1 Million Within 2 Years of Release from 26 Years Inside, and How You Can Succeed Too. Now, I wrote this book specifically to go along with a course that I'm offering to people in prison. Why? Because I believe that the adjustment patterns of people in prison have a direct result on their prospects for success upon release. Now, these aren't only strategies and patterns for people who are incarcerated. They work for anyone who is going through a challenging time. I learned them from masterminds. They empowered me through 26 years of imprisonment, and I am absolutely convinced that anyone can embrace those same principles of a deliberate, values-based, goal-oriented path to go through struggle and emerge successfully. So if you have not been listening to the previous episodes, it's really simple to download them. They're on iTunes, on the Earning Freedom podcast, on Success After Prison podcast. What I do ask is that you simply subscribe to the show, rate and review the show, because that provides us with more distribution. If you're looking at it on YouTube, I'd ask that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And leave a comment if you'd like. If you want a digital download, I will offer you one for free. All you have to do is visit my website at michaelsantos.com, enter your email address, the best place that I can send it, and I will blast a digital version of this book out to you immediately in an automated way. If you want a softcover copy because somebody may be incarcerated that you know or that you love and you want to inspire them and help them get through challenging times, give them a vision of what they can do, you can order it right off of the website at michaelsantos.com. So I have read 7 episodes already in 20-minute segments, roughly. This is going to be the 8th segment. In the last one, I left off with some questions asking my audience to define who their avatars were. Ask the types of Socratic questions that would help you understand what they would expect of you and determine what ways the decisions that you are making today can help lead you closer to the support that you want tomorrow. That was the pattern that got me through my journey, always asking those types of questions. And now as I begin episode number 8 of Success After Prison, I'm going to be going into the halfway house. Carol just picked me up from the penitentiary in Atwater after I concluded 9,135 days, and I was going to go do my last 365 days in a halfway house. And here's where I will resume reading. So by 3 a.m. on August the 12th, 2012, I was up and ready to start my exercise inside the federal prison in Atwater, California. It would be my last day locked inside of a prison. I had 9,135 days of imprisonment behind me, just over 25 years. As I recall, it was 25 years and 2 days. Carol was scheduled to pick me up at 9 a.m. Together, we would drive to a halfway house in the Tenderloin district of downtown San Francisco, where I had served the next 365 days, which would complete my 9,500-day journey as a federal prisoner. So I walked through the gates that separated the minimum security camp where I had served the final months of my journey from the penitentiary. So I left the camp. Officers picked me up at the camp, escorted me into the penitentiary so they could process me out. And I remember a staff member handing me a few $100s in cash from my commissary account and indicating that he would send the remainder of my money to my home address. And that was it. As simple as that. I walked outside and met Carol, and for the first time, I was seeing her without being in confinement of a visiting room. She wore a yellow dress that day. I remember she had a yellow ribbon tied around her. And, it kind of reminded me of that song from Tony Orlando where, it said, tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree if you still want me. I don't know if Carol wore that in reminiscence of that, but that was a song that I remember growing up when I was a little boy, and it was a story of a guy getting out of jail and his girl welcoming him, and it was just an awesome experience for me because I married Carol inside of a visiting room 10 years previously. Again, all of that is covered inside of my earlier book, Earning Freedom, but I married her inside of the prison, but we'd never been together for 10 years. And so it was, she was, crying, of course, tears of joy, and she hugged me, and we drove off to start our journey together. But the crazy thing is, although we were together for the first time, we really weren't free yet. You see, within 3 hours, I had to be in the San Francisco halfway house. Now, I know a lot of guys that say, geez, you could take some time to be with your wife, but part of my journey has always been focus on the long game, focus on the end game. What are you trying to do? And since it would take 3 hours to take the drive, I wouldn't have time for diversions. We wanted to be together. Of course we did. But the time crunch dictated that we needed to get on the road, and I just didn't want to jeopardize possibilities for home visits or weekend passes that I knew the halfway house could issue. I mean, the halfway house had the power over me still. I was still, as they frequently reminded me, you're still in custody when you're in the halfway house. So they could very easily send me right back to jail. So we resisted the urge to stop for alone time, and we just drove straight to the halfway house. However, once we got in the car, and buckled in, I had my real first sense of liberty because Carol passed me an iPhone. Now, when I went to prison, this advanced technology didn't exist. There was that, you may remember those old Motorola, I don't know if they were even called cell phones. I think they were just called mobile phones that were about this big and big antenna. And that's what I used. It didn't have a screen. It didn't have, all of the technology that exists today. So when she handed me that iPhone, it was really awesome. I'd never sent an email before in my life. I never watched a YouTube video. I'd never accessed the internet. So everything about technology fascinated me. But while I was in prison, I frequently prepared myself for this day. I mean, I used to dream about the internet because I didn't know what it was, wondering what it was all about. I'd read many books and articles so that I could understand the power of this communication tool. And I even took the initiative to participate in the internet indirectly. And this takes me back to earlier in my prison journey. See, since the late 1990s, I had a web presence. I persuaded people in my support network to build websites for me. And this is, it's eventually become michaelsantos.com. But earlier it was, I don't even remember the website name because it had some weird name to get to it. And it wasn't related to Michael Santos. We started michaelsantos.net with Carol. But anyway, I persuaded people in my support network to build the website. And they published my articles and they'd send me screenshots. But there wasn't any real way to experience the web without computer access. So reading about the internet was like reading about playing tennis. Until an individual could actually access the internet, he really didn't know how to appreciate the power of technology and how you could use it as a networking tool. But when Carol gave me that iPhone, I got my first chance. So as she drove, I was playing around with the phone and making some calls to family and friends. And Carol and I spoke about our plans. Goals had carried me through 25 years inside, and I pledged to continue living a values-based, goal-oriented life even when I transitioned back into society. So during the final year in the halfway house, I pledged to sow seeds that would allow us to start my career. I intended to create products and services that would help more people in prison, or people who had recently been released from prison, or people who were going into prison, help them emerge successfully. I wanted to create a business model that would help more formerly incarcerated people transition into the job market. I wanted to create campaigns that would spread more awareness on why it made sense to reform our criminal justice system. All of this I wanted to do, and I needed to think innovatively in ways that would inspire more people to pursue paths that would lead to success upon release. And I wanted to create multiple revenue streams that would build stability for Carol and me. I mean, I was, approaching 50 years old. I'd lost a significant amount of time in the labor market, in the workforce, so I didn't have savings. I didn't have a retirement plan. I really just had to get things together. But fortunately, I prepared myself while I was inside, and that's what I'm urging you to do. If you're going through this course in a prison, or if you're reading these books in a prison, I'm asking you, don't just look at them as words on a page. Don't look at the CDs that I'm sending with Earning Freedom interviews of other formerly incarcerated people who emerged successfully, or community leaders and masterminds and business leaders that I interview. And don't just listen to those words. Act upon them. These are all messages that have a direct relationship to you and to your prospects for success. You see, nobody is going to make as big of an investment in your success as you are. And if you want somebody else to make that investment more than you are willing to make that investment, you're never going to really crack the code. You're never really going to advance the ball. You're never going to make it to the next, level of success in your life. At least that's what I have experienced. And I really experienced it once I went to the halfway house, which I'll get into a little bit more. But the first things first. So during my year in the halfway house, I needed to establish myself. Fortunately, I had begun making plans long before I left prison. I had a job waiting for me. I had money in the bank. I had an extensive support network. Further, with the different books that I wrote while I served my sentence, all of these books here, I'd written all of these with nothing more than a pen and a paper. It's Earning Freedom, Prison, My 8,344 Day, Triumph, Success. I don't have inside here about prison. What if I go to prison? God, there's so many books I wrote while I was incarcerated, besides all the books I wrote for other people. My books included Inside Life Behind Bars in America, Earning Freedom, Conquering a 45-Year Term, Prison, My 8,344th Day, Triumph, The Straight-A Guide for Conquering Imprisonment and Preparing for Reentry, Success, The Straight-A Guide for At-Risk Youth, and that was quite a bit of content, more than 1 million words taken all together, more than 1 million words of content. Now, I didn't write books that were masterpieces of English literature. Rather, they served a purpose. I wrote to help people understand prisons, the people they hold, and strategies for growing through prison successfully. And I hope that my books would build credibility for me as I ventured into the world to start my career. So my intentions were to use those books as tools. I could build a business or income streams, showing all that masterminds taught me. Now, my friend, I mentioned him in an earlier episode, my friend Justin Paperny, he also provided a lot of help. You see, in addition to launching the nonprofit foundation, he'd built a successful consulting business to help people who were going into the prison system. And with those people, when those people needed services that I could provide, Justin outsourced a lot of that work to me. And so as a consequence of that network that Justin put together, I started earning an income ghostwriting projects for others. Helping them prepare for the sentencing hearing, helping them prepare for the pre-sentence investigation hearing, helping them document their substance abuse history, or helping them now chart a course or a blueprint that would help them get to the other side of prison successfully. And see, the reality is anyone can use deliberate strategies to reject negativity and overcome challenges. The message is universal. It's valuable to anyone and everyone. If deliberate strategies could empower me through the decades that I served, others could use them to achieve more as well. So if you are living in challenging circumstances, I urge you to think about steps you can take right now. Think about the options that exist to influence the people you are going to meet in the future. Because the more you think about it, the more you're going to be able to contemplate, who are my avatars? Who are the people that I want to connect with? Who are the people that I want to persuade to believe in me? See, that's the first question. Identify who they are. Then, of course, it's identifying, okay, what can I do while I'm here to prove worthy of those people, to prove worthy of their help? The halfway house in San Francisco, it was really easy to navigate. For me, after decades in federal prison, everything seemed easy. I was assigned to a 2-man room, and I could use the iPhone to connect with the world. I arrived on a Monday, and I met with Charles, my case manager, on a Thursday. And while doing his intake paperwork, Charles commented on the length of time that I'd served. Immediately he starts suggesting that I participate in counseling sessions and anger management and other types of programs that he thought were going to help me acclimate. And that's, might be good for some people, but I really didn't feel as though I needed that type of coddling. I'd really prepared myself, and I felt prepared because I anticipated that I would face those types of, I would call them interferences when I got to the halfway house. I anticipated that's what I was going to do, so I prepared myself. And so when I went to that first meeting with Charles, I brought all of the books that I had written in prison. I showed him support letters that I had received. I brought a curriculum vitae, which is really an enhanced resume that I wrote, and I presented him with a letter showing that I had a job waiting for me. And the letter confirmed how I could start working just as soon as the halfway house authorized me to begin working. So I remember, Charles was reading this letter and he's looking at me, and he's saying, how did you get all of this done while you were in prison? And as Charles flipped through the books, I could sense that the tangible work I presented to him, it really influenced his perception. Instead of seeing me as the ex-convict who served a quarter century and needed counseling, he treated me as a man. He said that he would give me as much liberty as I needed. And I was excused from having to waste time in those different types of counseling sessions that other long-term prisoners had to go through. Instead, I could continue executing my plan for success, a plan that began back 25 years earlier when I was still locked in that Pierce County jail. Because I was able to articulate that plan with my case manager, that initial meeting went really well with him. Now, without a doubt, I was fortunate to have Charles as my case manager. He treated me with dignity, as if we were two men rather than if I were some type of inferior human being just released from prison. And that is an essential message that I'd like you to take into consideration right now. You've got to be thinking about how this world is going to receive you on the other side of this journey. Think about that. You're going to meet a case manager in a halfway house, probably, a probation officer, without a doubt, a future employer, a creditor, a landlord, all of these people. And everything right now is really public and transparent because of the internet. So, people are going to Google your name and immediately they're going to find out something, or, they're going to form some perceptions of who you are. And so my challenge for you right now is to begin thinking about those people that you are going to encounter. Think about the Charleses that you're going to meet in your life. Think about what they're going to expect of you. What type of prejudice are they going to have against you because of decisions that you may have made 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago? How are they going to look at you? Because if you can anticipate that right now, you can start building a record that will completely upset and disrupt the thought process that they have of you. I mean, I told you that I wrote this because a federal judge inspired me after he invited me to come and make a presentation at his court hearing. And when he did that, it encouraged me to, or rather, what showing you is a federal judge inviting me to do that, it should show you that regardless of where you are right now, you can get people like that to believe in you in the future. It's just not going to happen by accident. If you want to sit across the table from influential people, if you want to open extraordinary job opportunities for your future, if you want to build a support network of people who can help you get credit, become a homeowner, become established in society, provide you with income opportunities, then now is the time to begin sowing those seeds. Now is the time to begin showing them that you can overcome anything. Or on one of our other podcasts that I do on the CD, I featured a great sales leader. His name is Ryan Stewman, and he's a leader out here in society, coaching salespeople. But he began inside of a federal prison, first in a state prison, then the second time in a federal prison. But now he teaches salespeople how to become great. And what he teaches them is he talks about the importance of overcoming objections or making a sale. He tells people that closing a sale is really doing a service for the buyer, not necessarily for the salesperson. You see, what Ryan's telling us is this message that can translate into our life. We are always working to persuade other people of the value that we can provide to them, the value that we can provide to society, the value that we can provide to a venture that they care about. And to the extent that we can sow seeds right now, and how do we do it? Developing our vocabulary, writing a journal that describes our life, reading books that pertain to what we want to become, building a support network while we're incarcerated, people who will wait for us when we get out. I mean, all of these things take deliberate foresight. You've got to be thinking about it today so that you could build a better outcome for your life tomorrow. Now, that brings us to about a 20-minute episode here of Success After Prison. I'm going to continue tomorrow with episode number 9, but I do want to encourage you to think about the challenges that you're facing right now and to think about what resources exist within your environment and what you can do to tap those resources and begin positioning yourself to overcome the challenges you have. You see, you're always making a sale. You are always selling yourself. You're going to sell yourself to your case manager when you ask them to put you in for a transfer to a lower security prison or to a better housing unit or to an earlier halfway house. You got to position yourself. You got to sell yourself to the case managers you're going to meet in that halfway house. You got to sell yourself to an employer. You got to sell yourself to a bank. You got to sell yourself to a landlord. All of the work that you do right now is going to demonstrate to that buyer, that person who's going to believe in you, why it's in their best interest to invest in you, to have a vested interest in your success. If you want a digital copy of Success After Prison, it's easy enough to get. Visit michaelsantos.com, enter your email, and you'll get one immediately by digital download. If you want a softcover copy for anyone else, not a problem at all. You can order it through my website. You can order it through Amazon.com. I've got an author page there with all of my products there. I do encourage you to please rate and review my podcasts on either Earning Freedom or Success After Prison. Subscribe to my different platforms, whether it's YouTube, like on Facebook. Follow me at Michael G. Santos on Twitter and connect with me on LinkedIn. Really looking to connect, really looking to help you emerge successfully. If you're a school or a prison, connect with me I'd love to share with you the program that I have to inspire guys who are inside and help them emerge successfully. Thanks so much. I am Michael Santos with michaelsantos.com. Be back soon.